Previously on Dandies in Danger.
Zach and Daniel were going to search the house for more green stains. Liam and Adrian plan to speak with the remaining Holloway Manor staff. You can feel the energy coming from the south and the east.
I think it's coming from outside.
Where?
The vegetable garden.
I know how to get there.
Liam and Adrian enter. Nathaniel reaches forward and leans in close to you, and he grabs your arm and he speaks in a very hushed tone. He says, "Are you here with Mr. Keene? You're not entirely unseen this evening. You have to be much, much more careful than that, please, for your own sakes. And don't go out after midnight out of your rooms."
What is happening here?
There's not much that I know. You all are not the first people here. The one who owns this manor has his own intentions, and I cannot stop him.
Well, maybe we ought to join forces more concretely with Mr. Keene.
We enter into the kitchen first. Mr. Keene is standing there. Did you gentlemen get a little peckish after the dance?
We're in on it. We know what's up.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
You know, I actually appreciate that, Mr. Edwards. Why don't you tell me about Mr. Wilkos?
Hi there, my name is Eli, my pronouns are he, him, and I play the voice of Zachery Wilkos.
Hi, my name's Cass. My pronouns are she, her, and I voice Liam Bardsley.
Hi, I'm Chess, he, she, they, and I voice Daniel Pritchard.
Hi, I'm Toast, pronoun she, they, and I play Adrian Edwards.
So, Zachery Wilkos, as you are being discussed on the floor above you, your attention is elsewhere. You are following a pole that is actually much, much more powerful now that you are on this ground level. Daniel is leading you towards the kitchens because you saw a garden from one of the first floor windows in the Sapphire bedroom. And you are pretty confident that the pull that you have been seeking out is coming from that direction. As you get closer, what you feel is very similar to what you had felt earlier up on the stairs with the green stains, but this time less angry, a little bit more of the sad that you had just picked up a little taste in the upstairs stairwell. So less anger forward, a little more sadness.
And
but it is pulling you, well, it is emanating from the direction that you're heading now.
Interesting, and okay. So we haven't gotten to the gardens yet, we're still outside of the kitchen.
We're swooping in with the camera as you and Daniel are walking down the hallway towards the kitchen because, Daniel, you are leading Zachery. What is your approach here?
He's probably gonna look around and see if there's any kitchen stuff.
Yes, there are two gentlemen in the kitchen right now.
He is going to assume that they are, kind of brainwashed like Molly.
Mm-hmm.
So they might not mind them being in the kitchen. He's been in the kitchen before. Nothing happened. So he just kind of looks around, surveys how many people are there, and then enters.
They look up to acknowledge your presence and then go back to their work of cleaning. They give you respectable nods.
He nods back.
Zachery reaches out and does a little tug on Daniel's sleeve and just says, "It's getting stronger. It's sadder somehow."
He doesn't know what to say to that, so he keeps walking forward towards the garden.
There is a door leading out to the garden. There's a couple of coats there. You two are both wearing jackets, of course, but it's not really anything to help against the elements. But there are coats hanging up on the door if you were to go out.
Points at the hot pipes and he says, "That's where I know I was an idiot and I touched those and I burned myself. Look." Then he shows his little burned finger.
He gives him a very flat expression and then turns his attention to the coats. "It's pouring buckets out there. We should probably wear this."
"Those aren't ours."
"We're borrowing them. Here." He takes them off the hooks and then he hands one over to Daniel.
"What if someone has fleas?"
So rude, oh my goodness.
"In this house, Daniel?"
"Don't be classist. Anyone could have fleas."
He tosses the coat at him. "Come on."
"King Henry VIII had fleas. A nest so large he had an entire colony on his chest."
Yes, well, he divorced most of them. and let's go.
Puts it on begrudgingly.
You step out into the torrential downpour. There's enough light coming from the windows of the house that you can make your way towards this garden. As you exit out, you can also see that there are stairs to the right of you. You can assume that those stairs might in fact lead up to a terrace. But you are heading right towards the garden here. So the stairs are just towards the right of you. They kind of arch up around. And so if you were to crane your neck up, you think that there might be something up there. And I'll go ahead and I'll give you that whenever you were in the ballroom, you recall that there was a glass door pointed outward where all of the rain was. So there's something up there, a terrace of some kind. You're essentially in the backyard of the house right now. So is it safe to assume that y'all continue towards the garden?
Yeah, Zachery clutches the coat around him and runs out towards immediately where he is sensing the sadness. And it's very strange to him that, like, it's... Because he thought he was going to start finding it on more walls. Mm-hmm. So now he's a little bit like... I think he's bracing himself for finding a body.
Yeah. As you come out here, it's incredibly weedy and overgrown. Any vegetables that are left in this garden are just completely incidental. There's a trellis with overgrown wisteria, and as you're walking out, you feel something poke on the bottom of your foot, and as you look down, there's a little toy soldier that's half submerged in mud sticking up, and there's a few of them actually scattered. You can see now amongst the leaves of the garden, like somebody maybe had been playing here. There is also a small wooden ball in this little overgrown garden. Both of you go ahead and give me perception rolls.
You got it. I got a 17.
17, good.
19,
okay. That's excellent. So y'all are taking a thorough look around here, and Zachery, you had been in the library at the very beginning of the evening, and what I'm giving you with that wisdom roll there is you recall there was a portrait of somebody who was carrying a whole basket of vegetables in her arm in this portrait. It was a woman wearing a green dress, a very pastoral scene. And Daniel, as you are looking through this shrubbery and this undergrowth, you're not quite sure exactly what it is that you are looking for. Zach has mentioned that he feels a sensation coming from here, so I imagine you're trying to find some sort of clue, some sort of hint, and in a flash of lightning, you see a glint in the ground. And as you bend down, you have to push a few of the leaves aside, you get closer to it, and you find a simple gold ring.
Take a look at this.
He comes over, the mud squelching under his feet as he does. Where'd you go?
I believe it's a ring. Can I tell by the size, or the size and the style, if it might have belonged to a man or a woman, if it might be a wedding ring, an engagement ring, or like a honorary, like you did a military ring?
It is a very dainty ring, and it is a simple gold band. With your social experience, your general knowledge of the world, I would say it's fairly safe to assume that this might be a wedding ring.
Zachery, I guess, I'm gonna try and perceive... Am I getting a general direction of where the sadness is coming from, or is it just kind of amongst the vegetable patch?
It's just in this garden.
Okay.
It's emanating from around you.
Okay, so if he's standing kind of in the middle of it like he is, he's kind of at the epicenter of it, he's... Okay. So does he feel it more underground?
Go ahead and give me an arcane roll.
Okay. 20.
A 20?
20.
A nat 20?
A nat 20, my friend.
That's
fear.
Cool.
Yeah, it sure suddenly seems very cool.
Zachery, will you pull out your D8, please?
Oh, you're about to get hurt, boy.
You're about to get hurt, boy.
Not necessarily.
Is this it?
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby. You want me to roll it?
Yep.
All right.
You're gonna roll for fright.
No, I just kind of want you to look at it. That's a 6.
Ooh, I think that's gonna put you at full fright.
Dude, all I needed was 2 more fright anyway, so I am...
That's okay. That's fine then. You are fully affrighted, and let me tell you why. You kneel down to the ground to feel if there's some sort of presence underneath you, if there's some sort of anchor or tie underneath the ground, and you're not really getting anything. It feels like It's kind of coalescing around you. You can feel it off to the side of you. You can feel it sort of ambient around you. And then you feel it stronger than you have at any point before this. And as you look up to tell Daniel that something is happening, behind Daniel is a full specter of a woman facing away from you in a green dress.
Oh my god. Oh shit, yeah, he looks up to tell Daniel, and then his voice catches in his throat like a choke, and he's like, ah! And like,
what is it?
Very still, and he just, don't move.
Can I take a fright for that?
Just from Zach telling you that?
Yeah, from Zach going pale and saying, don't move.
Yeah, please do.
I also just, since I'm at a full fright, I just want to remind my fatal flaw is emotional outburst. Roll a d6 to determine how many turns you will roll with a disadvantage. Disadvantage affects all combat d20 rolls.
Okay. So go ahead, roll that d6.
Okay.
And write that down on your sheet. Please track that for the next time. Assuming we enter combat at some point later this evening, you will be off with a bad start. But that also means that you can wipe your fright slate clean. 4 turns?
4 turns.
Okay. Behind Daniel, she is faced away from you. She is wearing a long green bonnet, and she's just looking down at the garden patch, and her hands are moving in a sort of plucking motion as she goes through the garden, but then she stops and she raises her head and turns it ever so slightly. What you can see, Zachery, but what Daniel cannot see, because this is all happening behind him, is that there is a bright green light emanating from underneath her bonnet. You cannot see her face, and you catch a sliver of this light, and it fills you with a sense of dread. And she starts to turn her head in your direction, as if she's begun to notice your presence and feels your eyes on the back of her head. She's starting to turn towards you.
So this feeling is very much, this is bad. Whatever this is bad.
Immense dread.
Okay.
Immense dread as she starts to turn her face towards you.
Okay, okay. Daniel, run.
I'm gonna bump right into her.
No, because she's behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you said run.
Yeah.
So you would be running forward towards the house.
Oh, I thought the house was behind me.
No.
Okay.
I know that wasn't clear, but the house is in front of you. You would be able to just run.
Then he does.
Yeah, Zachery is leading the way, and they're both ka-thumping back to the house.
Give me both just a straight d20 roll. You're not adding anything. The light emanating from her bonnet is like a spotlight. You can see it in the corner of your gaze, Zach, as it is slowly sweeping towards you as you make your escape. There's also hedges, there's overgrowth in this garden, so both of you roll me a d20.
Can Daniel see the light as he runs away, just because of Fergus' feathers?
What Daniel would be able to see is some of this light reflecting onto the plants.
Okay.
6.
Okay. Okay.
You're toast.
No, that's me.
No, they're toast.
18.
With your 18, Daniel, you fully believe Zach, and you are ready. You got them longy legs, and you are ready to start sprinting. You hear Zach go down beside you. He's stumbling. That is a moderate success. That was a 6, right? That is the lowest end of moderate.
Can I grab him?
Yes. You grab him by the arm, and you are kind of halfway pulling Zachery up to his feet, sprinting out. You can actually see now the green light inches closer as you're like looking down at your feet, trying to run away. You can see that light getting closer to you as you make your escape. And it almost catches up to Zach as you are pulling him along. But you manage to get back in, you get to the kitchen. It feels like just the space of 15 feet, whatever it was. I felt like it took an eternity to run that. But you managed to get in, and you slam the door behind you. The 2 kitchen staff, they are a little surprised. They look up at you entering, and they stare at you.
Wild weather out there.
Zachery nods. This is really coming down.
Well, and then they go back to their work. They go back to cleaning everything up. Zachery, you do not feel that dreadful presence behind you any longer. I don't know if you're brave enough to look back. Are you going to look back?
Is there a window at the doors? Why? Oh yeah. Then he'll look back.
There's nothing behind you.
He breathes out. Do you still have that ring?
Daniel looks a little pale, but he kind of like nods tersely and like pulls out the ring.
As you're looking closer at it, I'm going to give you one of your witness. On the inside, now that you're in a well-lit kitchen, you can read that there is an engraving on the inside, and it says, My Tabitha.
My Tabitha.
Your what?
That's what it says, My Tabitha.
Perhaps we should take another trip to the library. He's wiping the rainwater off of him and he's taking the coat off. There's some books there on, what's the word, genealogy, ancestry. Might get a better idea there. Come on.
Perhaps get a surname.
And so they start heading out of the kitchen. Zachery leaves the coat behind.
Wasn't it Tabitha King? Wasn't it Nathaniel's sister?
I'm checking my notes. It is Tabitha.
Ah!
She was married, but now she's dead.
Dun dun dun.
Oh, Christ.
Married to whom?
Frances Blythe.
I don't know if Zachery knows this, but I can just assume that they're in the library now, and Zachary's pointing at the book going, I thought the name Tabitha was familiar. But look at this. So her ring is out there, and I assume that was her ghost as well.
Ghost?
Yes, there was a presence behind you. It had a less than inviting light about her. Don't know what it was. Felt very dangerous. Decided we probably shouldn't find out, and thought the best course of action was to run. But now we know that ring belonged to Tabitha. Her ghost is out there.
Nathaniel's sister. Do you suspect murder?
I wouldn't rule it out, he says flatly. In the book, does it say anything about Tabitha having a daughter?
Yes.
An Emily, perchance?
Yes.
Well, that was her mother, assumedly. Unless she did some gardening and lost a ring and just isn't around. But I'd bet that that's Tabitha.
Oh, you have a question?
I don't know if I'm allowed to ask, but does the family tree have dates next to the names at all, or just the names?
It has dates, but it looks like it hasn't been updated in a while. You'll see for all of the generations before, not Adrian, but Zach and Daniel would be able to see that for all of the generations before Tabitha and Nathaniel, those have all been marked deceased. But everything below that has not been touched in a little while, aside from marking in Emily's birth.
I see. Okay. So we've got a ring so far, but not much else. Definitely no explanation and more questions. What do you think? I don't know if we should go to Nathaniel with this yet. Should we keep investigating?
Well, of course.
Alright. I can try and see if there's any more of that energy lingering about.
We'll do that, and I do intend to speak to Nathaniel at some point, maybe find out a bit more about the circumstances of Tabitha's death.
He nods.
What I'm going to do now is I'm going to bump us over to Adrian, Liam, and Mr. Keene. It is now approximately 9:30. There's a half-hour chime that rings through the house to let you all know that the half-hour has been marked. Now we go up a floor into the choral room, where Mr. Keene, as a refresher, has just asked Liam and Adrian to tell him about Zachery Wilkos.
Pardon?
I believe we're above such games, Mr. Edwards. You and Mr. Wilkos were in the library earlier, and Mr. Wilkos was quite forthcoming about the story that, you had been part of the party that, saved him from drowning. Or was that a lie?
Well, I was there. I didn't actually help.
No, I believe I got that much earlier. Liam's like, oh, yes, that is true. That is, I was there for that as well. But yes, Zachery is just a friend of ours. And, we saw a flyer and wanted to come here, but we have since determined that there's something not quite right.
There's a bewitching about.
Oh, is there indeed? Yes. I have been taking a few notes, and I am fully prepared to believe, actually, that there's a bit of bewitching. As a matter of fact, I happened to see that in the ballroom, when the waitstaff was attempting to attack us, your friend, Mr. Wilkos, came and made a gesture and moved his mouth in such a way that I'm inclined to believe that Mr. Wilkos is one of these practitioners of magic. So what I would like is for the two of you to tell me why I should believe that it is not your friend Mr. Wilkos who is behind every foul thing that has been happening in this house.
I suppose you were a witness to whatever this was because you did nothing to help us?
Ooh.
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 Ooh. Ooh.
That's very good, and it's actually going to take you down.
Mr. Keen, you want some ointment for that?
Oh, I see. You were spectating.
Oh, I
Is that because
see.
you weren't participating?
So, Mr. Keen was guarded with you before, and now that particular remark has led him to be averse towards you, and now guarded towards Liam because Liam is here with you.
Well, the feeling's mutual.
What I like about Adrian when he deals with other people is that there are no middle sliders. You're never gonna get like a neutral reaction from him. You're always gonna get something that's either gonna make them completely on your side or completely hate you. Wild card.
Liam hates the bad vibes in the room right now. Liam is so uncomfortable, so deeply uncomfortable. So he's actually gonna jump in, and he says, well, I promise, I know that you have your reasons for being suspicious, but Mr. Wilkos has always been a very true friend of mine, and he is not behind this, and you can trust me on that. Well, I suppose, I don't know why you would trust us, but...
Adrian elbows Liam, and then he says to Mr. Keen, well, might I ask what you have observed going on this evening?
He's feeling very averse to you right now. So he's gonna say, you are very direct, Mr. Edwards, and the only reason I'm really still entertaining you here in my room is because I have a suspicion, and I would like to know if I'm correct, because your family also runs a paper, and at first I thought perhaps that you were just a prodigal son who had no interest in reporting the truth to the public. And more recently now, I had begun to question whether perhaps I had misjudged you, and perhaps you were here in the pursuit of truth as I am. But I'm not particularly inclined to share anything with you until I know that my information is not going to immediately end up in the wrong hands.
What, my family's paper?
No.
He thinks you're friends with the person who's causing all this shit.
So, I'll ask you again. Why should I believe you?
Well, you said I was very direct. There you have it.
Go ahead.
Mr. Wilkos is not the problem.
Go ahead and...
Direct does not mean truthful.
Sure it does.
Go ahead and roll a d20, and you can add your influence. I'm going to roll for him as well.
19.
That's very good. He did not roll very well because being averse to you means that he has a -2 on perception and insight. And so he rolled quite poorly on trying to suss out whether or not you're telling the truth, but you rolled very well to be convincing. Mr. Keen nods and goes over to the desk where you can see several papers. And he picks one page out of the pile and says, "This arrived at my offices in the middle of the week. What do you make of this?" And he passes it over to you.
What's it say?
What's it say?
What's it say?
It is a copy of the pamphlet for Holloway Manor, but on the back there is a missive written in uneven, jittery handwriting. To the News Bureau Chief of the Falcon. Holloway Manor is afflicted. Scotland Yard useless against this kind of thing. Please help expose the danger to the public before more go missing. Or worse, before more return home again. Dare not help or speak to you once you arrive. P.S. By God's mercy, please don't alert the church. And take care.
I was beginning to suspect if this dude was with the church, so now that kind of cinches it for me that he's definitely just a part of the paper. So, that's interesting.
Well, I would imagine this is from Mr. King, our put-upon host.
I had suspected much the same. You see, the handwriting here, it matched the handwriting on our place cards this evening. So I have not approached Mr. King personally. Did he also ask you to come here?
In a manner of speaking.
In a manner of speaking? Are you friends with him?
He gave us a pamphlet.
I see.
But we spoke to him only moments ago, and Adrian looks at Liam to make sure this is okay.
Liam nods.
He told us about your investigations in the manor tonight, and we said we would endeavor to work alongside you.
Well, I'll give you a little bit of what I've learned so far. You see, as a matter of fact, Mr. Edwards, your paper reported on the missing people who had returned to their homes, but where the London Compass reported 6 missing and 6 returned persons, there were actually 12 altogether. So the 6 that came home were the only ones that your family saw fit to mention. But there were 6 others as well. And these 6 are now here, as you may have surmised. He looks questioningly. They are the staff working here this evening. Constance Cassell, he's looking at his notes. Constance Cassell, Yoan Bale, Molly Campbell, Jonathan Hudson, and Johnny Gardner. Now, there was a 6th one as well, John Blake, but I have not seen him since my arrival here, and I was asking the staff about the presence of Mr. Blake, and they all recalled having met someone of that name, but not having seen him leave the following morning, nor having stayed on his staff.
Adrian nods. I spoke to Miss Campbell earlier, and I believe she must have been the one who came with this Mr. Blake. She recalled coming with another man, but she did also have no recollection of what happened to him.
I see. And he gets his little journal out and he starts making notes about this as you tell him. Now, Mr. Edwards, have you had any interaction with the supernatural before this?
He looks at Liam.
Mr. Keen makes a note that you looked at Liam too before making your response.
I may have had a brush or two.
I see, such as with your friend Mr. Wilkos.
I couldn't say.
No. He smiles a little bit and he says, no, I'm sure you couldn't. So...
Picked up a ring once.
Girl, what?
That's Mr. Keen's reaction too. He's just sort of like, girl, what?
You wanted to know?
I see. Tell me more about this ring.
Had a strange presence within it.
I see, yes. Fairly run-of-the-mill then. And you were affected by this?
Is this going to be in your paper?
No, I'm asking because I would like to know why you are further investigating Holloway Manor. Why you think there's something wrong here.
I mean, you've been here all evening.
I received a letter.
We received a pamphlet.
No,
I wanted a bath, got here, and it was utterly spooky.
Please tell me more.
You've literally been here all evening. I saw the waitstaff acting strange. That woman attacked us. This Mr. King, very, 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 very nervous.
So your reasons for believing that there's something supernatural afoot here is purely because Miss Campbell behaved erratically, and Mr. King is suspicious.
The ring that I previously purchased unwittingly put a thrall upon me, and so I can say that I am familiar with the effects of supernatural control. It hinted at the same sort of feeling, and so my suspicions were roused, sir.
Get him.
He nods and is like, that's disappointing. I had rather hoped that I would be able to ascertain some more details. Nothing personal, of course, Mr. Edwards. I was just hoping that there would be something more that would point towards the cause of these strange happenings.
It's this Lord Bush fellow, whoever owns the mansion. Mr. King said so himself earlier to us.
Well, that is new information. Thank you, Mr. Edwards.
I would have thought it was obvious from the way he's been behaving all evening.
Liam jumps in and he says, I rather think perhaps we've got off here on a rather more confrontational foot than was strictly necessary.
It's not my fault.
We're now Liam sternly elbows Adrian, and he's actually quite stronger than Adrian.
Ouch.
Oh, boy does not know when to stop talking. He jumps in and he says, Mr. Keen, I think we're here for the same reason that you are, which is that we don't want any more harm to befall anyone than what has already happened a week ago. There's definitely a mystery here, and we want to work together. We do not, he kind of glances towards Adrian, we don't want to be at odds with each other, especially if there's anything that we can provide for each other that could be of service in solving this mystery. So, what we've sussed out so far is that Mr. King's family has lived here, and Mr. King nods. Yes, he's familiar with this. He was looking in the genealogy book earlier. But now Lord Bush is the owner of this manor. And there was also, we came across a strange knocking in the stairwell where there was a stain, a green stain, that emerged sort of in tandem with the knocking. And along with this, we found writing on the wall where the stain had been. It was P-E-R and then the beginning of another letter that we couldn't quite make out. It was a straight line of some sort. And so there's something here, definitely a supernatural presence. We suspect that mirrors and gems are not a safe... they're not safe to stand around because through means that we cannot share, we happen to know that mirrors and gems are avenues for a means of surveillance, and we strongly suspect that we are being watched while we're here. And then at this, Mr. Keen takes pause and says, "So, as we continue to make our investigation, we are being watched as we do so. I saw a light in the great hall down below us earlier. It didn't do very much. It just sort of floated there.
Oops.
But there were mirrors everywhere. There was a mirror on the ceiling up above me, so it would have seen the light, and it would have seen me, and it's certainly seen me walking around and speak. I've been trying to speak with people as casually as possible, so I suppose our best course of action would be to act as natural as possible. Hopefully, the two of you, well, the four of you..."
Adrian nods.
Yes, also. "The four of you, you haven't been acting suspiciously, have you?"
No. Cool as cucumbers. Well, perhaps not as cucumbers, but we've done our best.
I see. Well, if whatever is watching us, or if we're honest, whomever is watching us, and I could only assume that it must be this Lord Bush who's observing things, then we must be careful to act as natural as possible. This place is full of mirrors. And gems. There are a few locked doors throughout this place. I've noticed on the ground floor, there's a room in the northeast corner that has been locked. And I will continue to search for more locked doors because I think therein may lie some of our answers. What is your current course of action?
Well, we were going to question the staff, but if you have already covered that, perhaps we could compare notes.
I've spoken with a few of them. The gentlemen in the kitchens were two men by the name of Jonathan and Johnny. Jonathan Hudson, he's checking his notes. Jonathan Hudson and Johnny Gardner. It would seem that Johnny Gardner was formerly, well, a gardener, but he was without a job before arriving at Holloway Manor because his last family fired him for being too old. He had been on the streets for about a week when Nathaniel handed him the pamphlet. And then Mr. Hudson quite bluntly and frankly confessed to me that formerly he had been a career thief and that he had been receiving some word from one of his acquaintances, a workman by the name of Bob Morris, that there were renovations going on at Holloway Manor and some very expensive goods being shipped in for decoration. Now, he came to the place full of intention to rob from it, but then decided to stay on as staff after his stay last week. Can you tell me anything about Miss Campbell?
Well, I hesitate to speak of a woman's private life, but essentially, I don't know the manner of how she came to be here, but she previously led a much different lifestyle, I would say, and found it more proper, she said, to work as a maid in a fine house instead. She rather emphasized her sense of duty.
Duty? He sits up. Now that's interesting. And he marks it down. That's a word I've been hearing a lot from the staff this evening. And one that I heard once before as well. I did take it upon myself to interview one of the guests who had returned to his family. You'll pardon me if I do not share his name. But his manner was much the same as those here at this manor, but he's returned to his family and he said that he was happy now to be back home where he could perform his duty to his family and his workplace. I will say this without giving away too many details of the others, but all of their occupations were quite different from each other. A wide variety, all across social classes. And it seems also that those who are working here, there is no common thread between where they worked or how they were found. It's just, it spreads all over London, these connections. And he scratches his head as he feels like he's on the cusp of something, and he's trying to suss it out, but he can't quite put it together. So he says, well, for me at least, that leaves Constance Cassell and Mr. Yoan Bale as well as the last two staff that I have not spoken with. I feel like it would be best to split our duties. If you don't mind, I feel like I might be a better investigator to speak with the staff in a sensitive and inquisitive manner.
Then Adrian, yes.
So perhaps if you were to continue to investigate this house to find more about what could possibly be happening here, I do have my suspicions about the bath. Will you be going into the bath? I have other things that I want to investigate. So, do you plan on entering the bath at Gentleman's Hour?
I believe we intend to, yes.
Liam nods. Very good. Well, that will actually free me up to go see if I can find more of these locked doors around this building.
Mr. Keene, I don't believe you've had a chance to speak directly to Mr. King himself, but he did tell us specifically not to leave your room past midnight. I feel we should give you this warning as well.
He smiles and he says, well, you know what that means.
That's what I said.
I don't know about you two, but I'm going to endeavor to not be in my room at midnight.
As long as you take precautions.
Always. Well, how would you like to reconvene here in my room after the gentleman's bath hour, and then we could compare notes on what I've found exploring the house with locked doors, and you could tell me if you find anything in the rest of the house or speaking with any of the other guests.
Yes, can do.
Liam reaches forward to shake hands with Mr. Keene, and they do so. Liam says, if all goes well, hopefully we'll be able to stop this before it gets out of hand. Whatever happened last time. We don't want to see it happen again.
Adrian nods and hesitantly, but then tries to seem more confident, put his hand out for a handshake.
Mr. Keene reaches out and clasps your hand.
Liked what you heard? Let us know by using hashtag #DandiesInDanger over on our Twitter, Insta, Tumblr, and TikTok in the listed links below. We'd love to hear any and all comments, questions, and theories as to where the story might be headed. Want to support us and our lads' adventures more directly? Then please consider clicking on the link and becoming a patron today. For just $1, you can gain access to our longer, uncensored outtakes and blooper reels. For $5, you can have access to exclusive stickers, in-world letters written by and for the lads, poetry by Adrian and Daniel, and original music from the show composed and scored by Chess Albanese. Can't afford to support directly? No problem. Podcasts survive by word of mouth. So if you like what you heard, tell your friends, family, and local graveyard ghosts all about these exciting tales. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. Dandies in Danger is written and voiced by Elijah Bergateras as Zachary Wilkos, Cass as Liam Bardsley, Chess Albanese as Daniel Pritchard, and Toast as Adrian Edwards. It is edited by Toast. Original score and music composed by Chess Albanese. It is produced by Dandies team, and made possible by listeners like you.